out just for the celebration of Nonlinear's release.
Dougie has them for sale, and you know what's crazy about this night? You were in the home of the author, and you get an autograph from the author in his home.
This is, everything that we touch, navigate, encounter is the way it is by some design. At the same time, we have to be mindful of precedent that design hasn't necessarily been in a position of authority at that table in many cases. It's been largely dominated by business disciplines, or even more recently, thanks to Silicon Valley, technology disciplines. So even with design thinking, design is young at the table. We end up with a lot of Me Too stuff, a lot of formulaic stuff. The behaviors are formulaic. People get focused on outputs. I did this thing, I checked this box, versus the actual outcome. So that's where Nonlinear is coming from.
This is Kevin's nonlinear journey. Hold on. Okay, let me explain to you what this is. Because I figured, this is a design conversation.
But design is about creating the future. And you're navigating sort of the forest of uncertainty, ambiguity, haziness. And you're trying to sense make and trying to pull threads from things that aren't necessarily obvious to weave together a new story. To feeling like, okay, I can actually learn the art of conception, to make creative sparks and connections from disparate materials and insights and data points and inspirations. I think a lot of the chaos right now is by design. They want to take people off guard.
I see what you did there.
We wanted energy. We wanted just, energy was sort of like the feeling that we wanted.
I checked the color wheel before I came here, and this is what the color wheel said about orange.
Oh, okay, go for it.
Well, no, you're right. It said energy. It said energy. So you sure you don't want a book 3?
I'm sure. At least for a while.
The color orange can have many meanings, including optimism, energy, and enthusiasm. Book 3?
Andia Winslow, Emmy-winning voiceover artist.
That's not a part-time comedian. Just joking. No, that's true. Not true.
Also in front of camera, League of Her Own, playing through the movie.
I've had it. This is.
And Calamity Jane.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
This is the person you got the tip about the apples?
Yes. Anyone recording their own audiobook coming up, there's some things I want you to do. Stay hydrated and eat. You eat green apples. They take the acid out your mouth, because if you've ever listened to an audiobook and a person's like, and you're like, oh. That sound is like mucus and dehydration, but green apple will suck that out your mouth. And so if you're ever going to do it, or even if you have a podcast, make sure you have a green apple present, because that sound in your ear hole is really, it's not pleasant, as you know. All right. Sorry, Kevin. Okay, you go ahead and show the shoe.
So this is a prototype of one of the shoes. Yep.
Wait, that's it? Wait, hold on. This is the prototype of one of the shoes, as you can see. Yeah. Can they touch it?
Yes.
If you touch it, just touch the base. Don't touch your greasy hands all over there.
Oh, goodness. So this was a weird coinciding anniversaries for Jordan Brand, in that they were at a tear of celebrating the coincidence of the Air Force One with the anniversary of the iconic Air Jordan shoes. So this was the Air Jordan 8 and the 1 fused in a hybrid configuration, being authentic to the different piece parts that were pulled in together. And then also downstairs is another prototype of a different hybrid permutation.
That's pretty.
Thank you.
How did it feel to get your first shoe down the factory line? How did that feel? After being questioned about your ability, your lack of skills, your lack of experience in the field, how did that feel to see something physical and tangible that you created with your own brain?
Blew my mind.
Yeah. Brain matter all over the ceiling, everywhere.
Big mess. I'll never forget though, I think I had to take a business trip to LA, and I saw someone wearing my shoes. And I've literally, at this time it was like a flip phone camera.
Yeah.
So I'm literally like walking behind the person.
That's really exciting. Proudest moments in each iteration of your career? Can you name them? Or is that too hard of a question? Too personal of a question? Or too strange of a question?
Before I started my practice, leading digital ventures, leading design for digital ventures was a very rare opportunity because again, design was very, not very mature at the strategy table, and to have the likes of BCG open its coffers and allow us misfit makers to show what was possible.
Misfit makers. It's new horse race champion, misfit maker. I'm sorry. Continue. What else can they do? Read it, ask questions, engage, and maybe even take some of the principles and use them in your own life,
I always tell people to, find that creatively curious mentee in your life. It could be your team, could be someone you're mentoring. It could be your boss. Like, mentorship goes upward too, so.
I'm looking for a mentor.
Yes, Andy, I'll be.
I appreciate it.
You're my mentor as well. It's always two-way. It's always two-way.
Anyone have any questions?
I think both books, honestly, I'm dealing with design more systematically, so it is like a blanket. But specifically, I sort of leverage two design muscles. The way I describe it, especially when I work with my client partners, I use strategic design, and kind of based on the word strategy in it, like I'm trying to be at that problem-solving table, bringing together technologists, scientists, business folk around a shared imperative to go find that next new thing, whatever it is. It could be a service, it could be an app, it could be a physical product, it could be an ecology of multiple affordances, pieces of that ecology. Maybe I do a project with the government, that could be a policy that we're designing. But we're creating something new out of that. So that's the strategic design. Like how do we bring the right disparate disciplines together and see a future together? But then I do go deep on industrial design. Like that was my academic training when it comes to design. So I apply an industrial designer, from hard good. I'll apply that approach, and if at all there's a physical component to an ecology, I like to roll up my sleeves and design that stuff myself. But I'm usually augmenting a team that has digital designers and brand designers and all kinds of, copywriters even, to figure out the ecology and make sure that there's an overarching promise that's cohesive. So that's my individual contribution as a designer. We've celebrated craft in a lot of ways, and the aesthetic, and it's like, unfortunately, we've seen like some of the gatekeeping around that. Oh, you have to be on this ivory tower to be a part of this world that we're, and it's like, well, no. Precedent has been heavy. It's a heavy point of gravity, and when it comes to solving new problems, we got to get the right voices around the table. But we have to also just understand that the people around that table are bringing their own baggage. So the business archetype might feel a sense of entitlement around, okay, this is how it should go because industry has said this is how it should be done. And so I'm going to dictate what the designer does. Where, to your point, when you're at that table, my hope is that my writings, and my writings don't have all the answers, right? I'm just trying to present a perspective that holds up a mirror to that designer to say, hey, you got to show courage and show evidence to help the team understand what's possible. And they're not going to know what to ask for from you. And it better be beyond just the craft stuff. You got to show that boldness, that courage.
So it's almost kind of, I guess you can make you can draw a sports parallel of like the belief in when it actually affects the ability to
Yes.
It's kind of what you're talking about.
I mean, a picture speaks 1,000 words. A designer should use that with courage to show the team what's possible, not just delivering what is asked. So that's how I think about that question. But reimagining design was sort of like the first step to that. Designer, show courage. Non-designer, understand your designer a little bit better and participate in the creative process and trust the process a little bit. Let go of some of the preconceived notions of how you think it should go based on past precedent. Because past precedent has not included design strategically. Creativity can be chicken or the egg, and there might be a rawness to someone getting started in that, but I'm a firm believer, especially over recent experiences, that you must practice it like a muscle. You must be conscious of how you're spending your time in order to be creative. Like, there's a million different demands, hitting my desk that could take me into modalities that are non-creative. But I purposely have to create space to be able to generate the things that are needed for, doing good work, impactful work. I got to be purposeful and intentional about that. And the older I get, I'm cognizant of the variables that are necessary to make sure I'm able to get into a creative flow state versus other situations where I know I'm not putting my best foot forward because I'm distracted or I'm allowing a multitude of other things get in the way of the actual creative act. Even to your earlier question, like what do you do to fill the coffers? Because filling the coffers is part of it too. So again, I could be busy and not do these things, but I intentionally make sure I go collect, I go curate, I go find on purpose. I go talk to someone outside of the company wall or the client walls and, pull that person in that might already be doing something interesting into the team so that they can see the authentic threads, right? All those things help my creativity and thus the creativity of the team.
So what is?
I'm cognizant of the intention, the intentionality when I put pen to paper versus, I'm allowing all the asks that are coming at me that are all professing to be urgent but aren't necessarily important to the mission that I'm supposed to be on.
Dang, I'm doing it wrong.
I have a question, Kevin. What's your
At some points in the writing journey, it felt linear because I'm just getting the thoughts out. Because all these dormant convictions, you sort of feel it in your bones. Like, I got to say this because I'm so tired of dealing with that in my corporate arena. So that first, roughing out, I got the stuff out. But chapter 1 just was not right. I showed it to some mentors and friends. Now it doesn't feel like you, or you're taking an approach that deviated from what worked for you for reimagining design. And just getting quiet again, and then recognizing also listening with bigger ears, like what's happening in the world, and then just channeling my soul. So chapter 1, I can't even read it in front of people because I kind of break down in tears. Because I feel, if it's possible to feel yourself in the moment, the gravity of this present moment and everything happening in the world and where we're going, where we've been, chapter 1 it makes you feel that. And it's important to feel that because then our behavior should be different. If we feel that, if we connect to it, our behavior should be different so that we don't just pick up the next Design Thinking 101 playbook and follow the 6 steps and call ourselves being innovative. Like, that's not it. To Jory's question, courage, being bold. World's messed up. How do we shake up the precedent and do things differently? That's what tone I wanted to set and finally got there. Yeah.
That's my copy, by the way.
Oh.
Give it to me, thanks. Thank you. We appreciate y'all so much for coming out, supporting Kevin and his newest edition of his trilogy. Nonlinear, Navigating Design with Curiosity and Conviction. Kevin Grant Bethune, y'all.
Thank you.
Awesome job. Proud of you.
Thank you. I have a couple thank yous I wanted to make as well. First off, Andia, you've been such an amazing friend, cheerleader, mentor, because it's always two-way. So inspired by you and your work, how you put your all into everything you touch, and tonight was no exception. So, thank you so much.
I got more questions, but I just don't have time. Appreciate you.
Rep Club, thank you. Thank you for showing out, creating a great experience. Really appreciate your entire team. It has been just like A+ professionals, wanting to work together. Support Rep Club, and by all means, Black-owned, women-owned, bookseller. You guys are like the best in town. That's my opinion. So.
Get to work. I'm ready. Listen.